Geordie Journos back. I've got to say, sincerest apologies to everybody out there who decided, as usual, to jump on the live. Stupid me didn't charge my phone while I was sitting at the match. So you got cut off when I was probably making some waffling point about something. But we didn't get to read all your comments out, so apologies. I will try and reply to as many of those comments as I possibly can on this one and on that video too. You guys didn't have to endure that, luckily. It wasn't the most professional of moments.
Be better.
Yeah, but I think we always say that, and I'm never sure. I'm never sure we are.
We'll try. We do try that. If our effort.
I always say, did I?
Execution.
If you want professionalism, you're probably coming to the wrong channel. We are professional journalists, but on YouTube we're absolute amateurs, and that's probably being kind. But anyway, on to the day. John, you don't really want to talk about the match too much, but
Well, I'll hang up whatever you say. And
I'm quite.
Put it at some point.
It's a 5-1 win at the end.
I was really delighted today with what I saw from about 50 minutes onwards. For about a 20-minute period in the second half, it was absolutely incredible. I mean, Sheffield United capitulated in the way that it felt like that was the end of the road for them once that second goal went in. It was reasonably grim for the previous 50 minutes, I think. I can't remember what time the second goal was, but it was grim. It was around 50. It was pretty grim prior to that. But after that, it just felt like a little bit of Newcastle United of old, and they don't do things by halves. They're either absolutely dreadful or absolutely amazing, and tends to be in patches in games. But the frequency at which they score is one thing this season that is quite incredible. They showed flashes at this last season. I'm sure we all talked about it on these videos, didn't we? That it was like, sorry, it wouldn't have been on these videos, would it?
No. Feels like
we only started last summer. Probably on the videos of the Shields Gazette or Newcastle World. Check them out. Player ratings, analysis, and whatever else. Well, we talked about Newcastle United almost really putting down the foot on the pedal and taking it to teams, and when they get one, they go and get 2, 3, 4 and put teams to the sword, because there was plenty of games last season where they were less than impressive, or games ended up finishing 4 and 5-1 where you looked at it and went, teams were right in that until 60 minutes and then they put their foot down. There was a little bit of that again today, wasn't there?
Definitely. I thought Sheffield United actually played really well in the first half, and were probably unlucky to be going in level. Newcastle, one moment of quality from Jacob Murphy playing a good ball in, probably one of the few he got the chance to do and execute all game really, and then Alexander Isak does what he does, good finish. And Newcastle, you're like, okay, you can kick on from there, but then Sheffield United kept creating chances, hit the bar, had a shot go over. Frustrating for them in a lot of ways that first half, but yeah, Newcastle came out second half and you hoped there'd be a reaction from Eddie Howe speaking to his players at the break, and they definitely got that. Within 10 minutes of the restart, they're 2-1 up. Within, I think, 20 minutes of the restart, they were 4-1 up. So yeah.
So it was John Anderson, Newcastle United hero, and BBC Radio Newcastle hero, alongside Razor, said to me just after the game, one of the first things he said was, if Sheffield United had an Alexander Isak, they would have won the game 4-1. And it was one of those, wasn't it, Jordan, that in the first half that in many ways it was the away side that did a lot of the running and a lot of the pushing in the game.
I think the Brav going out and make one save, didn't he? But as you mentioned, hitting the crossbar, the goal, found themselves in some really good positions, but didn't have quite all execution. Is probably why they are where they are.
Yeah.
But the Newcastle first half were extremely poor. Lack of urgency, intensity in the final third, so slow at times, and really fortunate. I thought actually going in the break level, but I think the second half you seen Sheffield United collapse in many ways, and look, that's why they are relegated today, because they've been capable all season. They've conceded nearly 100 goals now, isn't it? You were saying, Dom?
How many?
Yeah.
98, 99 or something.
Yes, 97 maybe. I think
it?
they had to.
It will be.
They had to concede another 8 today to go to 100.
Oh, did
I
they?
think. And 13 goals Newcastle have put past them this season. That's a record for Newcastle in the Premier League. Most goals past, as you'd imagine.
Just a really poor side, I thought. One of the poorest I think I've seen. Yeah, I mean, I know the first half was probably better, but that second half was probably one of the worst I've seen from a team. But sort of credit Newcastle, I suppose, because they did turn it around, because it was pretty dire first half. But did Newcastle really have to do that much to earn the win in the end? It was put your foot down for 20 minutes, if that, and then you put the game to bed. It was almost like as soon as Alexander Isak got his second goal, he's pushing for a hat trick. He totally lost all.
He did.
Composure, yeah. So
Do you think you'll ever get a hat trick?
I thought today was the day, isn't it?
I know.
It felt. We said there's 20 minutes left, and Newcastle are 5-1 up. Surely there's more to come, because at that point Newcastle, every attack looked like they were going to score, and you end the game almost not disappointed, but slightly frustrated. It didn't go to that sort of 6-7-1.
Well, we said that, didn't we, after the game? That my overriding emotion, weirdly, after a 5-1 win, wasn't yes, we've won. I'm really positive about the whole thing, but it was like I wanted at least another one. That's so stupid and petty, but because of the situation they got themselves in, you felt like there was more in that game. There was more to be had. Look, it's silly even saying that, but Alexander Isak, I think tonight will go home when he's sitting chilling tonight, and I think he'll be kicking himself that he hasn't got that first hat trick in black and white. I think. Look, Callum Wilson might even be kicking himself that he didn't get a hat trick, and that's the first point I want to make, because I know you said we should come on with a bit of a plan. I think there's a couple of massive talking points. Bruno, future, the display, his comments on the display, connection with the fans. Alexander Isak, which I know you guys both want to talk about. That's why I say Jordan didn't want to talk about the game, because all he wants to talk about is Alexander Isak and how good he really thinks he is. But a little moment from the game that I think is actually quite keen. It might get lost a little bit. I'm describing it as, it's a bit of a rugby term actually, but the return of the bomb squad. Newcastle United have very rarely been able to turn to their bench and go, right, Wilson, Barnes, whoever it may be, go on and get goals. First game of the season, Aston Villa, they were able to do it. I can think of other games sort of recently, so West Ham, things like that, where they've turned to the bench and the bench has really been able to strengthen the team. That's one thing they haven't really been able to do this season. I thought that was a big one for Eddie Howe, is to be able to look to his bench and say, I've got players who were on top here. We can go to a different level if I bring Callum Wilson on. I think there was it was a bit of a strange one, the comment he made in midweek, where he said Callum Wilson looks really good, and it was maybe the context that was lost on everybody else who had only seen Callum Wilson for that 15 minutes that he came on. Eddie Howe's probably using the context of seeing him in training and thinking how good he looks, and seeing flashes of that in the movements that he made or whatever at Palace. But I think that was so obvious today. He came on and did his bull in a china shop thing, where he's absolutely on it, looks fit, looks strong.
Great finish as well.
Yeah, and that can only be a good thing. He'll be, like I say, he'll be disappointed he didn't get another one. Barnes less of an impact, maybe.
Great assist.
Good assist.
But like you pointed out, I thought he bundled his way through that, and then when you see it again, it's a beautiful little dink through the gap. Deft little chip, yeah.
I'm just you just saying all this, I just got a smile on my face thinking about poor Elliot Anderson having to come off. Poor guy's been playing left wing back, right wing back, and as soon as the floodgates start opening, he gets took off.
Yeah, when Eddie Howe sort of changed the team, so he moved the team. Anybody who was there today will probably notice it, and anybody who wasn't will explain it. He went very attacking when he made his first substitutions, and almost switched the formation a bit to a 4-2-3-1. Would you say, where Isak and Wilson were kind of dovetailing with each other, and Gordon went on one side, Barnes went on the other. It was basically he has the full set, the whole attack. The only time that he's played a number 10 role, he's created a little number 10 role in the team. Elliot Anderson, who's done a job at right back, left back, centre mid, everywhere he could have been asked of him, gets a chance. Oh, go on, Gaffer, put us in number 10, my real position. Off you come, son. So I did feel a little bit sorry for him. He put another shift in today. it wasn't the greatest of Newcastle United performances. The midfield did go wanting a little bit in that first half. The fullbacks looked very disjointed. Tino Livramento didn't look fit.
Came out hobbling at the end. His
Did he?
ankle, it
Got through
looked,
90 minutes.
Yeah, it looked swollen the way he was limping at his right ankle. It was either a sock really highly pulled up, or it looked like maybe some support down there.
Right.
But he certainly didn't walk out of St James's Park freely. So we'll wait and see what happens on that one. But Eddie Howe did say that at the end that he'll be better for that today. So I suppose we'll wait and see. But he's certainly not better after the game because he limped out. But yeah, hopefully he's all right for next week.
Yeah, Lewis Hall. I think Anthony Gordon got quite frustrated with him in that first half. Elliot Anderson too, with his decision making. I would say he overlapped when there wasn't an option, and then didn't overlap when he had to overlap to open space for other people. And I think he looked like a lad who hasn't really played a lot of games in this team with those players around him. So yeah, I think that was an issue from the first half. But right, I think we should talk about. What about Bruno? Should we go Bruno first?
Yeah, I guess that's where the day started with the war flags display, which I asked Eddie Howe about, because I think that affection and connection Bruno has with the supporters is something that I think he'll struggle to get anywhere else, wherever he goes from here. To get a display dedicated to basically yourself and Joe Linton, of course, was great to see. And you could see when he came on the pitch, he looked quite emotional, quite touched by it, and then goes over and thanks the fans. And I think it was one of many war flags displays which just hit the right note, hit the perfect note at the right time.
Nice little touch that may have been lost on people who maybe don't follow them on Instagram and things like that and see their family lives. But Bruno walked on with Joe Linton's son.
Yeah, no, it was really nice because
just quite nice.
Joe Linton was up in the stand, wasn't he, watching?
So we watched up to the box. It looks like Miggy's family and Joe Linton's are right next to each other, and the box is literally just behind us.
Yeah,
it's a long way up, but directly behind us.
Stairs, can't
you can see straight up, and to see how proud that Joe Linton's missus looked for the son to be out there. She was waving and she was jumping up and down. It was quite beautiful to see, actually, and that's actually one of the big things about what the culture that's been built at Newcastle United at the moment is that there's that little South American community, but then there's others. If you look to the likes of Isak and Kraft and Botman, they've got a little thing going on, and then you look on social media, see the wives. It may be Botman, Dubravka, Tonali, all of their other halves are involved and so really getting involved in what life is like in the city. It's quite a nice culture and environment that is being built at this football club, and I don't think that's something that's really talked about very much.
No, I think that's a really good point.
But it is quite a positive environment. It seems and the manager in many ways has to take some credit for that and what he's building on the training ground, the relationships he's allowing to build with his players, among his coaching staff. I think it's all really positive in that respect, and it's something that maybe isn't an obvious thing, but I think that kind of shines through, and that he seemed really, really pleased, didn't he, Eddie Howe, sitting up in, was it in this seat?
I think it was, I might be in your seat.
You're the gaffer.
In the seat.
You are the gaffer.
I pretend to be. I try my best. These two are the guys who make the money. I just sort of watch them do it.
Rubbing your hands together.
It's all me. I would never do that. They know that. But yeah, he seemed quite pleased, didn't he, Eddie Howe, the way he was talking?
Yeah, delighted. He said that's what it's all about, really, like building that connection and giving players that reason to stay, if you like, because obviously a lot of talk this week has been about Bruno, his contract situation. Disappointing he comes out in the mix zone and doesn't speak to anyone, but he did speak to the club.
We fell out about that before, didn't we?
Yeah.
Sure, not talk about
that. That was a ridiculously low blow by Don, which I'll get you back for, Don.
What? How's that a low blow?
Oh, he didn't let you bring it up.
You don't want to bring Jody Jono's off-camera arguments onto the camera.
I was just saying he didn't stop in the
He
mix
didn't.
zone, which
you can read into that as much as you like.
Yeah, which we tried to read into, but we won't get into that.
No, we're not talking about that.
But yeah, Bruno, just good to see him enjoying that moment with the fans, with Joe Linton's son, as you say, and Eddie Howe was keen to stress how important it was.
So on Bruno, I'm just going to lay out there. Anybody who regularly watches the Geordie Journals will know my sort of bit of a love affair with Bruno. I absolutely love him, and I've said it many a time before. When he was brought into this football club, it was, as I've said many times, it was like transplanting a Martian, like an alien, into Newcastle United squad. Somebody with the technical ability, intelligence, nous, game, ability to put a game, play it on strings, like pull things where, open up gaps, and he done it today. He does it all the time, and it really can't be understated how impressive a player that he is, and it's about building better players around him. Look, the club don't have power to a certain extent for a certain period, but it would be one of the most mental decisions if a footballer who, in my opinion, is one of the best central midfielders on the planet in world football, wants to stay at your football club. It would be lunacy to think of even consider selling him. That's not how you build a football team. Yes, you can rebuild the football team by using money that you take from that, but if one of the best players in his position on the planet wants to stay here, you do everything possible to make sure that you deliver that and he stays. And that goes for Alexander Isak, and I think that goes for the direction of travel that Anthony Gordon is heading in. It would be no surprise if Anthony Gordon goes, and there is always these players, there always has been in tournament football, that aren't involved and then suddenly impress, and it would be no surprise that if he gets a chance to get out on the pitch for England in the summer, I think he will be in that squad. Again, it would be lunacy if he wasn't in that squad because of what he can offer. It wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for Newcastle United if he wasn't, because I think, looking at the amount of games that he's played over a period of time in the last 18 months, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it feels like a ticking time bomb, that the intensity that he plays at, that he needs breaks and needs a rest. Completed another 90 minutes. No, not far off 90 minutes today, probably 85 minutes. But I think you've got to keep players like that around. There are ways and means you can build a football club without taking the crown jewels out. Yeah. I don't buy into this argument. I don't get it. I don't get anybody who buys into it, and jump in the comments, tell us if you think I'm wrong, if I'm stupid. We're all here for the conversation. But I think anybody even considering taking one of the crown jewels out to then rebuild in other areas, the thing with it is it's mental. There is no guarantees. There's no guarantees. Anybody can look at it and say, okay, you get 100 million for him, whoever it may be, any one of those 3 star players. Okay, but you get to spend X, Y, and Z on the rest. There was a comment to one of my posts on Twitter the other day where somebody said, yes, but you get rid of Bruno, you just go and find the next one. Wait there. That's not how it works. That is not easy. When you get players like this in your squad and they become so connected, character-wise, in the heart, the head, the family, everything, when they get so connected to a football club, it will be madness to even consider letting them go. He's a character. He's a leader. We've said it on here before. He's the armband. He would lead this football club from the very front. He runs the hardest. He's got the most ability. He's one of the best players on the planet. Give him the armband. He's my captain next season without fail. And I think that would almost be enough in some ways if he made that promise. I think he'd want to do it. He doesn't want to leave the football club. There's no doubt about that. There is caveats to that, and that's probably a little bit what we were talking about. But the caveats to that are Newcastle United are a big fish. They're a big enough fish, but they've never been the biggest fish. There are always going to be bigger fish in this pond, and that's just football. That's the way life is. If somebody bigger comes along and asks for that player, I couldn't begrudge the player with a player of one of the best on the planet with his own ambitions would suddenly say, yeah, I want to go to Real Madrid or Manchester City because they're at the top of the tree and show no signs of wobbling off it. Really, I know they didn't get through in the Champions League, etc., but they're still the top of the tree really in European football as things stand at the moment. I think the problem would come if you start questioning his decisions. If he suddenly started wiggling for a move to go to Arsenal, maybe you would start to think that might leave a bitter taste a little bit. But if he goes to Real Madrid, which I think is inevitable, he'll end up somewhere like that. you couldn't complain. Barcelona, if they had any money and etc., you couldn't complain. You can't complain if a player has those kind of ambitions. So yeah, I think that obviously you want to keep everybody that you can, but there's also got to be an acceptance, the caveat that there are always bigger fish in the pond than Newcastle United. And one tweet that I put out this week saying that, again, some of the comments coming back saying, yeah, but I believe we can catch them. Prestige and history you can't rewrite. Liverpool are a club of a certain size and probably always will be because of history and what they've done. Manchester United have that to a certain extent, although they're doing their best physically over the last decade and a half to erode a lot of that base that they had. Real Madrid are the most successful football team the world has ever seen, and there's nobody going to catch that up for a very, very long time, if ever, because they're so far ahead. You can't complain. There is a natural affinity. South American players do tend to gravitate towards Spanish clubs as well. So Barcelona, Real Madrid. You can't complain if a player like that wants to go. And that same goes for Alexander Isak. The same goes for Anthony Gordon if he gets himself up to that levels. If Real Madrid come knocking on the door, I mean, really, could anybody begrudge him leaving Newcastle United? Unless he's leaving Championship winning Newcastle United or something like that, where Newcastle United really do start building up they take themselves to that next level, because that's ultimately, we're still standing in a position where they haven't really moved forward all that much. They've flirted with the Champions League, will drop back out, but they can't really claim to be anything more than a team or a club of promise. They haven't really delivered that, and until they do deliver that, then they're never going to really have an argument when a big fish comes along.
Yeah, all Newcastle can keep doing is keep showing that ambition, keep progressing, keep aiming to improve, and players will buy into that. And Eddie Howe spoke about that being so important, the fact that Newcastle want to keep moving forward and build that momentum. And if players accept that and see that it's all that project that was sold, and if maybe overachieved last season, but if they can keep competing and qualify for Europe this season, then that's going to go a big way to doing that. But there will become a point, or there could become a point, where if Newcastle were to then drop out of the European places, these players then maybe start to ask questions about their own future, because Bruno and Isak in particular are in the almost prime stage of the career.
Yeah.
And do you want to, from a purely selfish point of view from those players, but a realistic point of view, do you want to squander almost your best years playing for a team who are 7th, 8th place in the Premier League, admittedly, but when you could play for, like you say, the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, Man City, teams like that who will compete for titles and win them as well, and be in the Champions League season after season. It's a no-brainer really. But like we say, the connection Bruno has with the fans, Isak to a lesser degree, but developing as well, is going to play an important part over his future and the decisions he'll have to make. But obviously it could be taken out of his hands, as we say, with that release clause as well. But me and Jordan touched on that yesterday, and a lot of what you've said is similar points to what we raised in the video yesterday as well. Shutting down here.
I know. Well, we're always the latest here. It's no surprise they want rid of her.
Was that the wave that I would have?
No, you just said.
Was you just big fans?
Big fan of the Geordie Journey.
I do know.
One of the few.
I do know.
Oh, your mate.
He's not my mate, no.
Oh.
I see him on the school run.
No.
I'm not going to reveal the school.
Oh, okay.
But no, don't do that.
We should get.
Though?
Yeah, I was going to say Isak, but I was just going to mention quickly, Don, before you go on to Isak. If Sella, Castor, Fun 88, anybody like that, if you do fancy sponsoring the Geordie Journals,
Newcastle United.
We can do this all the time, you know. we can put these sponsors behind you. Right, Isak. What a guy.
What a guy.
What a player.
That
finish. So he was on scraps again in the first half. Get that one opportunity where he goes through and just absolutely brilliant finish.
You never doubt him a miss. When he gets in a 1v1 situation, you never doubt him a miss.
Unless he's on a hat-trick.
He just went to pot, right?
But no, he is world class, and
So that was the question.
Yeah, that was the main talk point. What I want to talk about was Eddie Howe was asked about Isak, is he world class? Yes, he agreed. Yes, he is. And then also said that he wouldn't swap him for anyone. And we've said that multiple times. He is currently, for me, the best striker in the Premier League, in Europe, I would say as well, because look, I don't know European strikers on the top of my head. Eddie Howe doesn't either. But I think for me, on current form, he is absolutely the best. And I've said it multiple times, I'll just be repeating myself. I think he's a total all-rounder for me. Got everything.
If you agree with that, give the video a like. Give the video a like. Jump in the comments and let me know your thoughts.
Yeah.
If you don't agree with that.
Well, we did a video at the start of the season, almost, I'd say jumping the gun, but actually premeditating it. Alexander Isak or Erling Haaland, who would you rather have? And Jordan, you went in there early, and I think Eddie Howe, he's probably agreeing with you now.
Thanks, lads.
The synergy between you and Eddie Howe is incredible.
I'm not sure about that. I don't think he likes to see my face in the press conference on Friday morning.
He high-fived you at Fulham the other week.
He did high-five us. I think he was just happy. We all were.
We were.
But yeah, he's the... I mean, would you wouldn't swap with anyone now, would you? Surely
Not on current form.
I don't know enough about world strikers. Obviously, you see the bits, you hear the bits, you read people's reports, you see records, what people do. But I actually don't think I need to see anybody or need to know anything about anybody else. I've seen enough by watching him to know I don't want anybody else.
Well,
He's perfect for us, and I don't want anybody else.
there is one striker, Jean-Philippe Mateta.
A beast.
Incredible.
He's a beast.
on Wednesday night, he was incrediable. But no, joking aside, Isak.
Bren Brereton Diaz, handful. Take him.
He was alright today, I thought. He was
Backup.
He's a backup, right? He's been
Better
linked in
than
the press
Chris
as
Wood.
well. I think Isak, the big thing Eddie Howe stressed in terms of would he replace him for anyone? No, he wouldn't. Is Isak's age and how far he can still go? Because you're looking maybe there's like a Harry Kane or someone like that, but Harry Kane is still operating at the very top level, but for how much longer? Isak probably has, if we're being generous, 10 years left at the top.
No, I wasn't thinking, Harry Kane. Would you swap for Harry Kane?
No. He
But
left
you
Spurs,
maybe
and
would,
Spurs got better.
You maybe would on an
So I know
individual.
there's a reason- Harry Kane is world class.
Harry Kane
Right.
is the best striker on the. I think he's the best striker
Yeah.
on the planet.
He's
so
Alan
good.
Shearer-esque, Harry Kane.
But he's link play
Alexander
and everything.
Isak
And
is Thierry Henry.
Isak's pace, man. Isak's pace.
His age though as well.
His age, but his pace for me. I like to see centre forwards who are quick, and he's got that turn of pace. He's rapid. So I think that I wouldn't swap him.
It depends what type of player. Do you like a traditional number 9? Harry Kane.
I like Harry Kane's.
But for me, growing up, Thierry Henry for me, I love Shearer, but Thierry Henry for me
Was your
captured my.
I think you're not alone. I think everybody was the same.
Thierry Henry was a player for me, and
yeah.
I see that in Isak. and
He
that's
was
why
so
Isak
graceful
wouldn't-
and glided across, and the way he used to just bend, like open his body and bend the ball in, and he was just Isak's got everything like that about him, and there is a more aesthetic reason maybe like that Henry stood up head and shoulders above. I think you ask most people now and say what is the best striker the Premier League's ever seen, and a lot of people, despite Shearer's goal record, will turn and say Henry because of that aesthetic, because he was so beautiful in everything that he did, and Isak's got that. He's not quite the same, but there are shades of Thierry and things that he does, but I don't buy the absolute comparison that some pundits seem to go for, because he's not the same.
Yeah, it can be a bit lazy at times, but you can see why.
Yeah, you can see why they do it. Yeah.
Such similarities, but I think Isak, certainly the past couple of months, I know it's quite a small sample size, probably cemented himself as certainly ability-wise, maybe even surpassing him a bit. No, I can't say.
Ooh.
I can't say that in terms of technical ability, right? But Alexander Isak is Newcastle's best striker since Alan Shearer.
Got a bit excited there. No, I think again, if I'm gonna say Isak's a better all-rounder than Erling Haaland, I've got to say that Isak's a better all-rounder than Shearer as well.
So I think the only reason why so the only reason why I think you can't judge that is because early doors Alan Shearer early to mid 90s was a phenomenon, and I think that often gets lost on the way people judge him, because by the time he came to Newcastle, bear in mind he was still mid 20s. When he first came to Newcastle, he was still Like, he could crack a ball in from anywhere. He still had a turn of pace. He had everything you'd want about him because he was quick when he was younger. But injuries caught up with Shearer. The knee injuries that he got really, really did dilute the speed that he had. And he had to change his game a lot. He was quite clever as he went on. But the Newcastle version of Alan Shearer was never the best Alan Shearer. The best Alan Shearer that there ever was when he broke through at Southampton and went to Blackburn.
Yeah.
He was unbelievable. So it's hard. It's always a funny one to judge, I think. And I always think Shearer gets a bit of a rough deal because of that. But even Shearer Mark II, the one where he had to transform his game and lost his 2 or 3 yards and became more physical and strong, and still some seasons would rack up 30. It was he was a goal scorer. He was an unbelievable goal scorer.
Shearer's the best.
And Isak in a team that's scored more goals, by the way, than any team that Alan Shearer played in, still can't get near the goals that Alan Shearer scored.
Yeah.
So it probably puts a little bit of perspective on it.
I want to make the viewers clear. I'm not sitting here saying that Alex.
No, I didn't think you were. I just think it's interesting to try and weigh it up and think.
Yeah.
Shearer will never be matched as a pure goal scorer, though. But I think there's parts to different players, parts to Alexander Isak's game you can really appreciate. But one thing, another penalty for Isak today. If you want a penalty taker, who are you picking?
Oh, I'd like to see it again. Did the keeper stand? Didn't dive and just let him, because I don't think keepers can judge him. I don't think a keeper can work out what he's going to do with it, because he can go both ways. He'll whip his foot round it, or he keeps his body quite open and just passes it the other side. I think he's technically an excellent footballer. And where does he? We've talked about where does he stand? My opinion, I think he is the best since Shearer. I don't really think that's in much doubt, is it? I think. You couldn't.
Callum Wilson's probably in.
Callum Wilson would be in it.
Especially Newcastle's right since Callum Wilson.
He is like.
We were joking about that before. Ask Eddie Howe, what would you swap anybody for? Alexander Isak. Aye, Callum Wilson.
He loves having those two as
he
his
does.
options.
Dom, you're drifting off the screen here, mate.
Sorry.
You jump in.
We've been talking for about 30 minutes.
We'll have. Right. I don't even know where we're going now. Have we done everything? Have we ticked every box?
Yeah, more or less. Fabian Schär got injured.
Is he alright? Don't know.
Hamstring. Whenever I sit here, I think about Fabian Schär, because every time we sit here, we'll comment on him or how great he is. He wasn't great today.
He wasn't great today.
Refused to come off at one point as well. I asked Eddie Howe about that, but he said he just didn't want to come off, and then at half time
had to come off.
Had to.
Right, so it'll be onwards and upwards. I think. So the other thing would be European players. I'm going to make a statement and say.
Bearing in mind when we're recording this,
well,
Chelsea.
So I'm going to kind of skirt around the Chelsea element of this. I don't feel like, and I thought there was 4 real teams in the mix for the 2 likely places that will go European football, 6 and 7 dependent. Obviously, it was Chelsea and West Ham, Man United would be the remaining teams in that mix. Realistically, I think West Ham with 3 games to go after dropping points, and are 4 points behind Newcastle United, 5 points behind Manchester United. I think that is probably, in the balance of probability, I think that is probably too much for a team to catch. I think they've probably ducked out this weekend with that poor result. Poor result. No, it wasn't a poor result. What am I talking about? It was a decent result, but it was like was points dropped where, if you watch the game as well, they were right in the mix to win that game as well. I think Chelsea's one that they've got potential to catch, and I think Manchester United will probably finish above Newcastle United because they always find a way. Yeah. Like last season, Newcastle wiped the floor with them as a team over the course of a season, and still Manchester United finished above them. So
and won the Carabao Cup.
I just try. I'm trying to raise.
Sorry,
I know I do. Sorry, I'm trying to raise that out of my memory all the time.
You were struck, didn't you?
Did I? It's one of
you just walked off. You went, I'm not watching them. Not watching them.
I did. So that might be a level of pettiness that some fans out there might respect. So everyone doing their job as they normally should. I refused and walked away, and I didn't want to watch Manchester United lift the trophy. And I went into the Wembley press box, which is expansive, it's big, and thought, right, I can hide myself away. I turned away from the windows, only to find a load of TVs. But I managed to find a little chair that only faced a plain white wall, so I didn't see or hear anything.
Did you pull the blinds down as well, didn't you?
I did.
Oh, you didn't. I
Put headphones on. You were just.
I put my earphones in. I did.
I honestly thought you put the blinds
No,
down.
I didn't. Me at Wembley put the blinds down. No.
Not happy.
No. So yeah, I do try and erase that from memory. I couldn't accept that. I still don't accept it.
Happens, doesn't it?
We'll be back.
One day. Has to be one day soon if you're going to keep Isak and you're going to keep Bruno and you're going to keep Anthony Gordon. So that's probably the next level, and that's where this summer has to take Newcastle United. Right. We've done 36 minutes. We'll never get this up tonight if we talk any longer. What's next for the Geordie Journos?
Press conference.
Burnley.
What's Eddie Howe going to be talking about then? Burnley aren't in bad form.
No.
They're battling.
If you do have any suggestions on content or anything, any big burning topics that you guys want us to talk about, I'm pretty sure I could convince these two to maybe
Best press boxes.
jump. Well, did you like that? I thought there was a few people like that sort of thing.
There was no interaction on it.
I think there was one comment said, I'll be
conversation.
interested. Yeah.
If you do have any suggestions, jump in, and I'm sure we can convince each other to adjust to our busy schedules and maybe do a video if you can't wait for your Geordie Journals fix until next Friday, it would be.
Yeah.
So do let me know. But in the meantime, do like it, shares it around, comment, and click the bell if you love everything that we do. That'll subscribe you to the Geordie Journals channel, and we'll make sure that every single video you get an alert on your phone or your laptop or whatever you watch the Geordie Journals on. So, if that's enough from you, Jordan,
Enough for me.
and enough from you, Dominic, call it by your full name,
yeah.
Dominic.
Must be Sunday.
It might be when you watch this. Like, comment, share, and subscribe for all your Geordie Journals content.